I don't have much in the agenda today, I think. Do we have demos today? Sébastien, do you have any demos?
I'm
demoing a lot of stuff. Sébastien.
What?
We agreed that Sébastien is going to demo all the stuff that he was talking about. I'd like to see that.
That's what we said. Yeah. Yeah, the stuff that you talked about.
Yeah, just thinking about what I did this week.
You did the constrained cache.
Also, what did I do for the constrained cache? A fix. It's just a fix.
The headers, yeah.
Yeah, just a fix. Cache. I worked a lot on taxonomy. I refactored how the alternates are rendered for taxonomy. I also refactored the controllers in taxonomy, how it's using drivers, because it was not using drivers but a specific controller and custom routes, and it was not very nice. It was like a hack. So it's fixed. Well, the module was 2 years old, and so new shapes. I also pulled Sipke's changes on taxonomy, so the autocomplete, and also you can create new terms on the fly while you type them in the autocomplete. And I just finished pushing some tokens to taxonomy, because there were no tokens in taxonomy available. And actually, it was a nice story, because we have some fields which have multiple values. How should we handle them in tokens?
I think maybe we are missing some kind of list token.
Yeah, I've opened an issue about that like 2 months ago.
Yeah, there is at least one issue open. Yeah, that does, that can do concatenation with the separator that you specify, that can get you the first item or item number and that sort of thing.
Yes, but I don't know how to surface it on the API and on the token names. So what I did is a very specific solution. It's so for the taxonomy, because it has multiple values, it can have multiple values, and usually there is only one, but it can have multiple. So the idea is that when you use the standard content field token, which is content.fields. The name of the field, this field, this token returns you the field itself, the field object. Mm-hmm. And so then each field can say, okay, when I'm used as a token, here are the subtokens that can be used. That's why each field provides its own tokens. For taxonomy, there is a .terms now, which seems usual. No, and the .terms will return the string, the concatenated string of the names, comma separated values. So like science, comma space, sports, comma space, arts, things like that. And if you do .terms :0, it will be the first value, :1 second value, and so on, like it's indexed, like we do for the date .format : and the format string. So it's using that, but it's implemented into the taxonomy field tokens itself. It's its own logic. And I discovered the flow, because what I wanted to do is that when you do terms :0, you could then do dot, and it will chain to a content token. So you could do then .display URL or whatever. So it will chain automatically. But there is a flow here in the tokens API, which is you can detect, for instance, terms :0 by providing a filter as an entry to the token. So you don't have to say it's the token name term. You can say it's the token which fulfills this lambda expression. That's how we detect that, oh, it starts with term colon. But you can say iChain if the token starts with something. You can just say iChain if the token is something. So that's a gap in the chain API, which I fill by creating a chain terms colon 0, chain terms colon 1, chain terms colon 2, which works. But that's not very nice. That's a hack. So, but I could have added it into the chain API, but if we do that and taxonomy requires that, it means that if I push taxonomy like this, it will require 1.7, which we don't want. Oh no, I could update also the tokens module, which will be compatible with 1.6. It's just that this taxonomy module needs the tokens version, a new update of the tokens module. That could be doable like that. So you don't even have to upgrade to 1.7. If you want the new taxonomy, you need to use the new tokens. We could do it like that.
Okay.
Okay, so loud thinking. Then, so I think I've pushed everything. And what do I want to do on top of taxonomies? I'm not sure. There is just one open question. Sipke is not here, but he kind of agrees. He added something in his fork, which is actually taken, but I don't think it should be in the core taxonomy. Right now there is a filter in the core taxonomy module for the projections to say has terms. So you can say, okay, I want every content item which has these terms, okay, or subterms of this one. What it did is a related terms filter, which will take the current auto-routed content, get the content item associated to the auto route, and then get all the content items which have the same tokens as the current one. So it's interesting, but I'm not sure it should be in the default taxonomy module. It's a very specific case. It could be related content feature separate, and we could also add a way to do that with the tags, and maybe also using search engine instead of the auto route thing. It's so.
Why would we use tags if we're trying to, or some of us are trying to not use tags and use taxonomies instead?
Yeah. I was just saying that it's also interesting to use tags for doing that. If you have tags, you could say I want all related articles based on tags, like you would say I want all same articles based on taxonomy. Okay.
Not sure I understand. So are you
I'm just saying
taxonomies?
Nope. I'm just saying we could have another module for related content, which could provide features based on taxonomy, based on tags, based on search engine, based on SQL queries, because they are different. They have different behaviors.
The module is more late about creating relationships, and you can leverage one of those three tools in order to. Okay.
Because, for instance, in the I made a module for I made a specific code which uses a search engine to match content items by tags, but using the search engines, which means it can be a loose relationship. It's not like an exact with the same tags. It will be ordered by score. Like the more tags you have in common, the more you will be at the top of the list. So those are different solutions, and that's why I say that the current implementation in taxonomy module from Sipke is very a specific problem, not a generic problem. So, just saying. Well, that's what I did last week. And
any demos?
Also. Demos.
So last week you had shape menu item.
Oh, all of these, yes.
Faceted search.
Okay, let me show you something. Then, first I will unplug my computer. Wait a minute, from the docking station. I'll be back. Otherwise, I will lose connectivity.
Yeah, I think he needs a new laptop.
What's his company? Who is not giving him a proper laptop?
I don't know. They were supposed to all get new hardware this year. So.
The Surface.
In addition to the Surface.
It starts with an M, I think. Not sure.
Hardware for work, not hardware for whatever you're supposed to do on the Surface. Let's draw something.
When to.
Oh, he's here.
I'm back. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen. Share screen, desktop. Yeah. I think I have video driver issues, and whenever I share something, after 10 minutes, my computer has to reboot. So you should see yourself. Benedek, can you see?
Still loading.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, great. So yeah, as you can see, this is the new. Well, this is good. Control F5. Do some of you have some feedback with the clayless branch? Or I mean, the one.txt branch in terms of performance?
I haven't measured it. It
Okay.
works.
What I see is that if I go there, look, it's 61 megabytes when I start in...
Oh, that's not a lot.
That's, yeah, it was like 100 before, just starting.
Easily, yeah.
Well, it will go up, but it's not, at least the startup is, I can see a big drop. It's just a startup,
Nice.
so I should check. That just, this is nothing very scientific, just. Okay, so what I have here, well, this is taxonomy. Taxonomy hasn't changed. Oh yes, because maybe everyone haven't seen it. So the idea is that when now you have a new article, if I look at the taxonomies that I've linked to the articles, I have colors and I have played with it. So remove, apply. Okay, blue, light blue, and red. So if I go to new article, this is a new thing from Sipke. Now I have decided to have this field as an autocomplete field instead of a checkbox or a button. So now if I type here, I see the values. Okay, light blue, and you see I can remove it, or I can type so blue, then red, and I can, because I checked on this field that it will be also customized values, I can have like my own values, so orange, and I say tab, and it will create the term when I push the data, like new article, publishing. So I have blue, orange, and red, and if I go to taxonomies and terms, orange is there. is supposed to fix the issue which lowercases everything when you type them. So maybe it didn't, but actually it's lowercasing the blue and light blue, which is not lowercased. But if I type yellow like this, let's see. Okay. Yellow. There are some bugs. Yes, there are some bugs. I have to check that. Sipke's code, so I have to verify his code. That's so taxonomy, there are new alternates, but it's different. So what? Yeah, I wanted to show you the new stuff. So in the navigation now, by default there is a shape link. So the idea is that when you add a shape link, simply you say custom stuff. Type of the shape to display, let's say custom stuff. Okay, custom stuff. It has a text, which means now if I go to the project and in the theme, stack theme machine, open file, views, new, copy paste, custom stuff. Foo. And now if I go to the application, you see foo. This is literally what was in the shape which is rendered here. Okay. So maybe it's expecting something like a link. And it looks better. Okay. So then you can have custom logic for each and calling the I content manager or whatever you want, but you can define what you need.
So there is, it's the same model that gets passed in as with any menu item.
Exactly. So I could say model dot let's say tag, because I know it as a tag. No, what does it have? I don't remember. It doesn't have text.
I didn't see you enter any data in that.
Yes. So actually, it must be okay.
So it's a static shape.
No. There must be a property like a menu item, something like that, which will be item because it's in direction. And this shape is in menu item menu item link. New item, and you see it's
content.
Exactly, it's menu item of the model, and the model will have the text. Okay, it's this one, which will be a menu item, content item. I see custom stuff because it's the name of the entry in the menu item.
Okay.
Okay, and there must be a tag and everything you have in the menu item, like href. You see?
So Sébastien, right now we have the content and menu item are two different properties?
Content and menu item are two different properties. Content, there is no such thing where content.
Because previously we had on the there is an issue about it already, that for example when you have the query link content, the query link menu item, it uses filter to replace itself with the query, the items that come from the query, but the information about the origin disappears. So when the menu item gets displayed, you don't know if it's if it was a query value.
Yeah.
Because there is only a content property which is replaced with the actual content that comes from the query. So I spoke with Bertrand about it a while ago, and I don't know, maybe we should have two properties to hold the origin and to hold the actual display.
Query, maybe there should be a query content item. Yeah. Okay, there must be some collision then. But here it's the menu item itself. And everything that you pass in the menu item, content item. So if you add new parts to it or new fields to it, you will have access to that, like the CSS and things like that. So this is a shape menu item. Then, okay, what I changed also is the pager templates, but this is just about showing some code because I don't have any example here. So now the pager and the list too. So for the list now, you see that if the tag is dash, if the tag property on the list shape is dash, it won't render the container, okay, which is UL by default. And now there is also an item tag, which can be dash and can be also defined. So you want a list with custom specific tags inside and outside, and also you can change them, like adding some classes from the list items. So this is very interesting for customization. So for instance, in this one, this is a custom shape, but I could say display list of list equals new list, and on the list you can say tag equals, for instance, div if you want a div container, and you could say item tag equals span. And if in the items you add a new specific shape, this shape, when it's rendered, could say, just as an example, could say copy paste. If I have a foo shape, this one could say model dot, and there is how is it called? I don't remember. There's something, and you could say, I don't know. I have to look at the code and document it. And then you could say dot item tag equals, or classes dot add and foo. So you can infer on the parent. Where is it? Oh, I modified the wrong stuff. Infer on the parent tag, which will be this one. So each of the items which are displayed in the list can infer on the parent which is displaying it. That's progress for theming. Might be important. I also changed the pager.
Actually, I've had to use something different than list several times
because of that. Because it was too limited. And item tag. Don't remember where. Maybe it's just model. I have to check. And for the pager, same thing. I changed lots of things. Yeah, fixes. It's not new feature, but actually fixes because it was actually broken. So if I look at our chart and core shapes pager, quantity is the same, so this hasn't changed. Core shapes. Yeah, for instance, this thing. So this is very important to to understand this thing. It was not obvious to me until last week. Shame on me. Display and new, like they are like behaving the same, but they are completely different. When you say new.pager first, new is a shape factory, which means this will create an object, a shape object, and give it to the sub items of this shape. Okay, but it's just creating a new shape object. And this, not only is it creating a page of first shape, but it actually rendering it. So the result of this thing is an HTML string. So it just says evaluate the shape right now and add it to this item. The big difference is that if you do that, it's using the context at this level. And if you do a new, it will use the context when it's actually rendered. So a new thing like that can interfere on the current context, while this one can't. When it's displayed, it's too late. When this shape is displayed, this one has already been processed. And it was making things so, and the issue was that as a pager, for instance, if you go into the pager here, you see you can say in the pager that the previous text is something, and you could not replace it with a shape because this would have been evaluated too early, and the same shape would have been reused everywhere. So instead of using different values of the shapes based on the context, so that's a huge change. And also, yes, same thing here. No, this thing is just to let you define here a text or a shape. This is very important because maybe your previous, actually, I think there is another property. There is another property which is a pager underscore previous and pager underscore next. Yes, you can override them by using shapes. And before you could not use shapes, which means you could only use a text for the previous button and the next button. Now you can use shapes like images and everything. Faceted search. What's new on the search API? So if I go to, it's not only search, it's also indexing actually. So if I go to iSearch Builder, and I will show you the code how it's done. So this is the iSearch Builder that you can get from the search module, and where you can create custom search queries. And this thing is new. So this thing will let you get a vector of bits, and this vector has as many bits as there are documents in the index. So for instance, if you have 3 documents indexed and you do a search query, instead of doing count or results or there is a list, I think, or slice. Instead of doing those things, if you call get bits, you will have something like 0, 1, 0, okay, which will mean that the first document is not part of the search results. This one, the second document, is part of the search result, but not the third document. So if you do, for instance, a search on, let's say, blue, which is a taxonomy term, and the results are these ones, and you do another search on, well, actually, with this thing, you already know that there is possibly one document which will answer to blue. And if you do the same with red, and says this, you know that there are 2 documents answering to red. So when you render your search results, you can render the current results, and you can do also a search with blue and another search with red, and then you can display something like that. Red in the UI. Red 2, because you know that there are 2 results with red, and blue 1. So you know how many results there are. And you can also know how many results are in blue and red, because if you do an AND on this one, you get a 0, 1, 0. So you know also with these values that you have only one result, which is in both red and blue. Okay. So what is interesting is that, let's say you have done a search on red, or you have done some search which results in like, okay, yellow, and results in something like that, like 0, 1, okay, 1, 1, 1, okay? So you have all the 3 documents displayed, and you have currently a search on yellow. Based on this search, you just do a add with field, you just do a with field, color, and the value, and it returns it to you. And same thing for the red, okay? And then you can say, okay, with this thing, I will have 2 values, two possible values with red, and only 1 value with blue. Which one do you want to click on? And when you click, it will do the search with yellow and red, but you already know there will be 2 results with that. Okay. Yeah. I will make a... So I want to do a module which will help that for taxonomy, and but it also needs some documentation to show how to use it technically. Yeah, but the result is something like that. Resources, something like that. Those are taxonomies. You see, I have all the possible values here, so it's just doing nothing as a search. Okay, there is no search query. It's just saying give me everything, and it says there are 62 results. And then, but it says also it knows there are only 21 results if you do United States, and 10 if you do Pacific, and 32 you have results. So if I click on United States, then it will show, okay, you are in United States, but if you go under the taxonomy United States with Virginia, there will be 7 results, or there will be 6 results in Rhode Island. And if you mix it with another taxonomy, there will be 10 in results. You can mix them all. So and when there are no results for a specific value, because your get bits returns 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, then let's not show it, because we know there is no results if they click on this thing. So we just show where there is one at least result. See? So that's the idea with faceted search here. What else? This thing is just bugs with clayless fixed a lot. Content picker filters, nothing to do. Oh yeah, something I didn't show you. Content. I want to link page to articles, so I will change the page. The page. Edit. And if I add a field of content picker field, like related articles, save. So now what you can do is say, okay, show me the content tab when you want to select some related articles. I can allow multiple content items, but content types and parts will only be article. Save. And then when you go to create a new page, if you want to select articles, it will only show articles here. Okay. And same thing for the. And there is a bug because I can. Oh no, there is no bug because there are lots of articles, but here I can just select articles. You see, so that's very nice for the content picker.
So your page size is 2 here?
Yes, it was because I wanted to test the paging on taxonomy. That's why.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's why it looked like a bug. Okay, see, 2. Yeah. And same thing for the search. So like if you go to the modules and you enable search, and let's say enable content picker search, when you are in your content type page, actually this one, and I go to this. Now I can see show content tab and show search tab. So you can decide, no, I just want to show the users a search tab where they can only filter on articles. So that's if I save.
Also, you can filter on different things on each tab.
You could. It doesn't make sense, but why not? Why not? Content. So if here, okay, new page. Here, so I just checked. It had to go wrong. I never tried it actually. Just one thing. So I have to fix it. But I thought it was working. Maybe I broke it. It's weird. But yeah, that's the idea. This thing has been reverted. Shape menu item, content picker, search tab. The content type rule for layers. Yeah. So now you can say in your widgets, you can say add a new layer. Articles only, for instance, and here what you will say is when the content type is article. So when the current actually displayed in the detailed mode is for showing an article, you can have a layer for that. Or blog post, let's say, it's a solution. Well, you could say based on the slug, but sometimes, for instance, articles, they have all different slugs, and you want to target only specific type when it's displayed. This is cleaning, removing some path constraint that was not needed. And that's it. See, I upgraded to AutoFac 3. It's in a different branch. There are outstanding things to do, but it's just about getting the configuration from files, which has changed in AutoFac 3. But we have to try if it's still working for everything. And that's it. Before it was 2 weeks ago for
Shape widget.
I haven't done it yet. And whatever is related to shapes, I kind of like to integrate what Piotr has done directly, because it would make sense. Now we have shape things like widget shapes, shape menu item, shape layout.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to just type the name of a shape. Let's say, okay, I want to create a shape, and done. So that might be the moment to take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I heard him. Must be around here. Yeah, so I will see how I can include it directly.
Yeah, and if it doesn't destroy performance.
It shouldn't. Because
no, it shouldn't. I agree.
Because we. No, I mean, if we do it right, we can cache shapes from DB, and they could be pre-compiled and everything. So, so it should not be an issue. And with something like shape part, which could reuse the same editor for shapes, and that could be a solution. So yeah, and it could be used for menu items. What do you say? Widgets, a page, shape page. Let's go to web pages mode, PHP mode, a shape page.
Just give them front page and alt remover. That's the best CMS. Okay.
That's it.
It's not nauseating.
Seriously? Question: are the tabs for content items in the backend still on the roadmap for 1.7? Yeah, it's a good question.
Are the what? Was it in the
being
roadmap?
Able to.
You know what?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it again this morning. It's like, yeah. Oh, and actually I thought this morning and last week I had a solution. I should have wrote it somewhere, but it was a good solution when I thought about it. What was it? Groups. Oh yes. So yes, and I think Zoltan suggested it too. But groups, we need to extend the build display for that. Then, if we want to use groups, we need to extend build display and maybe content shape result, so that we can target a specific group. So that, but we will have to render everything for every group on the page. It's just the tabs which will order things based on those groups. You see, it's like the design which will create tabs. We just render divs and the CSS will create tabs out of it.
Yeah. But would that imply some changes in the driver interface?
I think so, just a new, I think in the content shape result. So when you render, and maybe in the placement.
Oh, I see.
So when you render your shape, you say, hey, it goes there.
Okay.
And actually there is one in content shape result, but maybe it's the placement which has to be enhanced.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because it's where, when you do your placement for your parts, like content, foobar, you could say, okay, content, group, options, or content, group, none, like it's the default one.
We are not really using zones in the admin currently, are we?
Yeah, we are. We have two zones, primary and secondary. They used to be in the beginning 2 columns, remember? And now
Right,
used,
yes,
and now
yes.
there is still a primary and secondary, but it's for the secondaries for the action buttons at the bottom.
Yeah,
of the page.
exactly. It's so couldn't we just use those?
We could, yes, we could, but this, okay, this is much simpler actually. So if we use zones, then we just need a convention to say that some specific zones are tabs, or we define those tabs, but I'm not sure we want to define the tabs we can use.
No, definitely not, but
maybe a convention,
Yeah, exactly, that could be a convention.
like a zone named tab option or tab general or something like that.
Yeah.
Or it could be one zone with subzones. No, can we place something like that? I don't know, I'm not sure. No, we can't.
Currently, no.
No, so yeah, let's use a convention on the name and it will work. It's just in the admin, so it's okay. It's just for the theme in the admin, the layout in the admin to change that.
Yeah.
Not only the layout, but the content dash edit of the admin. Yeah, that's only one file to change. One file to change and we have tabs. The suggestion.
Go for it.
And yes, I actually thought about it because I was playing with Squarespace this morning, another CMS, and they have dynamic layouting, very nice, much nicer than in Scifinity actually, which is already very nice. And
what do they have?
A layouting engine, a layouting editor in the backend.
Ça t'a pris que 6 mois. Hein?
So you're talking about which CMS?
Squarespace.
Oh yeah, it's very nice. It's very nice. Yes.
I know, Ilan, you sent us the link already. We had already looked at it. We know it's beautiful, and I still repeating it. It's still beautiful, and they also have tabs like this. They also have a way to change tab. It's very nicely done. It's very beautiful, yeah. And everything could be done in the admin like that. It's just lots of work to have an admin like that.
Yeah, but there's a reason they're doing so well.
Yeah, they're also targeting.
They're not nauseating.
They're also targeting designers, and
Agreed.
they are exposing very deep configuration that we can do in Orchard. But in Orchard, it's not by default. Like for instance, you can say on a blog post that you want to close a comment in 30 days. Straight away in Orchard, you have to tell Orchard, hey, please, in 30 days, close the comments. It's also
you're picking on a very minute, and you're making it a good example of it. Obviously, minute feature that they're exposing.
Yes.
But there are certain efforts that we can make to expose a baseline of those types of user-friendly settings and features, and then when we get to a level and a down the road, we feel that those additional items need to be, they don't necessarily need to be, because we do have a different audience to a certain degree. But as we grow, we can then see, do we need to expose those additional settings that you're making a point about?
We will. It will be like some profiles or kind of recipes, advanced recipes, so that when you start or churn a specific profile, and maybe it will be in the end we will have how do we call them, distributions, like a distribution for this kind of people with already done exposed configuration like this, workflows already ready and settings already set and layouts using those settings and things like that.
Packages.
Yes. Yeah, one day we are going to that. But yes, I liked it, and I like their editor, their layout editor, and also the tabs.
Yeah.
They have this notion of tab. So when you edit your content, you have a tab which is social, location, things like that. And
right.
It's a perfect match with our parts. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've done a lot of work with Bertrand on the engine portion of it. We
would love to demo sometime.
That we need to work on the design, the UX, the experience of it as well.
Yeah, look at Squarespace.
Well, yeah. So.
And it also made me think about the implementation details, and it was interesting.
Part of it has to do with Bertrand's availability. A small part.
I don't care about Bertrand's availability.
Are you available, Sébastien?
I want to do so many things once 7. I don't know how I will do it.
I know.
If only those guys in Hungary could work on interesting things. Wow, that would be so much faster.
Maybe there's a solution with SignalR.
What? Oh yeah, that's the solution. Let's do it in SignalR. It will work better.
All right, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. Actually, I want placement to die.
That's a beautiful invention. You just want to be different.
I want it to be hidden, and you only use it if you need something really super complex. But most users should never see it.
Yeah, but you need placement in some sort of.
You need some sort of placement. I want to replace it with something that is surfaced in the admin.
Yes, but the placement.xml, the placement.info, yes, this is not obvious and nobody understands, and it's one of the last remaining places where you absolutely have to edit a file. Mm-hmm.
I was speaking about placement. There was a discussion on Orchard discussion board about adding couple more match parameters, such as URL or wildcard URL plus wildcard.
It exists. It's there.
Yeah.
Or something. Maybe yeah, but there was a discussion about a couple things that are not there yet. Possibly about wildcards, like on the content types. Or matching a given part, a content type that contains a part.
You know what? There is a wildcard. It's don't write content type. It will apply on everything. And the scenario is that you have, for instance, a parts title. You don't want to show anywhere, or you want for all types to show it in some specific placement. So you just do a place, and you don't specify content type. So it will apply on all content types.
Yeah, but for example, with content types that are starting with specific name or
parts, maybe
types that or parts. Yeah, parts would be very good, because sometimes you need to, just apply some placement to some types that contain a particular part. Not because you don't want to apply it to all or nothing. So that could be good.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It makes me nosy. I want to puke just listening to you. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Should not even talk to say.
Yeah. We said we wouldn't talk about it.
Anyway, we're French. Can't stop.
Yeah. Tragic. Nauseating. Okay, well, What time is it? We have 10 minutes for triage. Not even. Share screen?
Yes, sir. We need to release 1.7. Okay?
Yeah.
To keep with this number. Because there is a...
Do you want to talk briefly about post 1.7?
Post 1.7?
Yeah, or is it too early?
I always like to speak about post next version. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. We vaguely talked about 1.7 being the last 1x version.
It could.
And yeah, doing something for the next one.
Yeah, so the idea is to, as everyone knows, everyone following the project knows, the idea is to use a document database, and we really need it because everyone's spending his time to profile the DB, try to have much better performance, and the document database will be a huge improvement for that. It will be also the occasion to remove a flush method on the repository, and by the way, remove the repository interface.
I thought it was if you didn't flush that it was nauseating, but so I love how all my jokes fall completely up to death.
No, that's all I have in mind for vNext Plus.
Yeah, and why definitely not RavenDB? Why not?
Someone is asking?
Yeah. Piotr is definitely not RavenDB.
Right now, the only option we have,
in terms of licensing, as the default,
yes,
the only option we have is YesSql.
So we could use anything. But everything has an implication. So RavenDB will mean all our users will need a RavenDB license.
Commercial users.
Yeah. Commercial users, which means, okay, you have a website online, for some reason, it's commercial reason, so pay. Okay. Unless you have an open source project. How many of you have an open source project online with your website? No. You make website for a living, so we can't rely on that. Otherwise, it will be the perfect technical solution. Second reason, political reason. How many companies trust SQL DBs or have experience with a SQL DB? And how many companies don't care about not having SQL DBs or using a document database? Let's talk to OneStop, for instance. Will you agree tomorrow to not to use a SQL DB and use a document DB?
That's very unlikely.
That's very unlikely. And that's why I think we can't go for a document DB, which is a pure NoSQL document DB.
That's not just political. There are very technical reasons for wanting to keep a relationship database because they have the expertise.
Yes, when I say political, it's like management reasons, and you have companies.
It's also you have an ongoing business. You have an ongoing concern. Making the change to is pretty drastic.
You have and you have the knowledge. You have DBAs. You have servers. You have licenses. You have everyone has that, and experience and trust in the product. And maybe you want to do reporting, so you want to do some queries and generate some BI stuff and everything, and it's much easier if it's a SQL database. So we want SQL databases because also it's free, because also we can host anything on a free SQL database. There is MySQL, there is SQL Express, there is SQL C. PostgreSQL. There are lots of solutions. And but we want a document DB because Orchard is a document DB. Parts and everything should be a document. Everything, a content item should be a document. A version should be a document, and so on.
So we have a question here. Does Hibernate work with document DB? So the answer to that is that what YesSql is that he built a document on top of Hibernate and relational. Hibernate is you should describe it. And Hibernate is abstracting the relational database and.
And Hibernate just in implementation detail. It's not even visible in the tool. The idea is that it's a framework. When you say save document, it will save your object, your aggregate root object, as a JSON document into a document table with a column name content. Okay, it's saving a document as JSON in a table. So it's a raw blob storage. Actually, it could use a blob storage. Then issue, how do you query things?
So in RavenDB, that is Lucene, actually.
No, in RavenDB, the document is stored in Ascent, which is a file system.
Yeah, he changed that. In the beginning, it was Lucene.
Maybe, but I think, well,
Okay,
it's Ascent. It's Ascent. Okay,
I'm wrong.
it's like a storage API, a compound storage API. You have one file which stores blobs documents inside. It's like a zip, not zipped. At the OS level, Windows is coming with that, with drivers for that. And for querying, RavenDB is using Lucene, which means every time you have a document, there will be indexes which will be created for your document, and you can have as many indexes for each type of document. And an index is just a way to query your document. Okay, if you want to do a query, you have an index for this query, which makes it very powerful and very fast. And in the case of YesSql, when you want a query, you have a table for this query. So if you have a blog post and you want to query a blog post by its slug, then you have a table which is blog post by slug, which will contain one column slug and one column ID, which will be the ID of the document. So when you go out to get all blog posts by slug, it will do a select from blog post slug where slug equals foo and returns you a list of IDs of documents. And then it will look for the documents in the documents table and serialize them. So every index, every query is an index, and every index is a table in YesSql, and in RavenDB it's a Lucene index. And then you can also create indexes just for the sake of creating tables, because you want to expose some specific unnormalized or calculations on your data as some SQL tables, because you want to do reporting, for instance, count things or count relationships and do some reporting. So you will just create a query or an index for that. You won't use it to query technically your documents, but just to make some reporting, and it will be materialized as a table. It's like a materialized view. Yeah, so that's the idea. And to make things simpler, it's using Hibernate, so you can have link integration for your indexes, and you have everything that Hibernate can provide. Second level caching, and very, very interesting. Are we adding support for object document database storage? Why not have an abstraction layer on top of, instead of iRepository, iDocument database, which will provide everything, and you could change and to use anything you want, like what you said, what is the name, Neo4, something like that, or Cassandra or MongoDB, yeah. Whatever you want, or RavenDB. Why not? It's another abstraction layer. Do we need it? We have then to be careful about providing sufficient details for any implementation, and also an abstraction which will not be specific to YesSql. For instance, right now the current implementation I have for Orchard is doing kind of the same in Orchard today, which is a high content query. And a high query, so you just say that query which filter on a high content query, and you can filter on parts and then filter on specific things. So it's, well, actually I don't think you can still filter. Yes, you can still filter on parts, but it's a detail. Yes, so we have to expose things that the inner implementation should take care of. But maybe it will work. Maybe it will work. It will be interesting to see how it can be done. And then maybe YesSql will be the default implementation, and we could have other implementations.
Okay.
But that's a long road.
Yeah.
Long. We have a prototype working. I demonstrated it at Harvest. It's running.
That's interesting. Postgres has a feature like that. So that's interesting because it's a pretty amazing database actually. That's not doing a lot of noise, but it has lots of interesting features. So it would be interesting to look at what they're doing. So that's our Orchard running on YesSql.
Yeah. It was made last year, actually.
Yeah, so it's a very
It's hibernating state. I showed at Harvest and what I showed at Harvest was from nothing to website running through the setup, which means it was running through the whole setup and creating the content types, and you could go to the admin and creating content. I have upgraded a few of the modules, as you can see, just the bare ones because it's some work to upgrade the modules. But the main idea is this one. Look at and the code was much simpler. I just had to remove code from the module because now you don't care about records. You do your POCOs and you just say save and done, and it's beautiful. You just do some Yes, I kept the convention about record just to say it's an index. So I will show you. So for instance, let's look at what did I have? Paid? No. Users, interesting users. The models folder is still there, okay? And change the name if I didn't have to. Look at that. So now a user part record is a content part record, okay? But a content part record is nothing. So still those things, so okay, user part record, and I have a user part which is a content part of user part record. So this is the same concept as Orchard, okay? Same thing, this hasn't changed. Exactly the same thing, okay? User part record. And it's just a convention to say that if it's a part record, it will be saved, okay, as part of the document. And then to query, let's say we want to query users, okay? Let me show you the service then. If we want to save a user, so there must be a create user. Is there? We can't create a user, or maybe it's by the part automatically. So let me show you the querying. So content manager now calls query. It's still a high content query, but it queries on, it says query user parts based on this index, user part record index, okay? And you do where my user has a normalized, so this is the same as the current code, okay? This is the same thing, but the user part record index is a new thing, and this index just says, I am an index, which will provide a normalized username, an email, and those things. And to build this index, okay, I provide a way to map a user part record index based on a user part record. So every time a content item record has a user part record, then create a user part record index with this value. So it's mapping our POCO. This is no more saved, okay? This thing is not saved. It's like the stuff that we care about in the document. A document of type user will have a user part, and then a user part record will be attached to this document. So every time for a content item we have a user part, create a user part record index. So it will map a content item to this actual database record, so this index entry. And we can query on everything like that. Okay, so this is actually a table in SQL. And then we can query content items based on that. So the idea is that this content item record is actually a document. It's the document representing the content item. And this document has a set of records, which are actually part records, okay, which are what it is comprised of, okay. So a document is made of record. So we need to change the names because records doesn't make sense at all in DocumentDB. It was just easier because all the code in Orchard is already doing something with .records and calling records, so I didn't change the names. But it could be used content item document and parts or how will we say that? Slices of document, I don't know. And every time it's a user part, then create a mapping with the index to that. So that's very easy. Migrating Orchard to use that is very easy because it's like a perfect match, perfect fit. And just to show you how it simplifies things, if I go to the core, not the content, where is it? Setup in the framework maybe. Where is the content type definition thing? Content type definition. Yeah. Content type definition. There is a content type definition record. Okay. So now a content type definition record in the current version of Orchard, it's a set of 5-6 records, so 5-6 tables, because there is content type definition, content part definition, content field part definition, and things like that. Okay. So when you want to get everything, you need to load all those tables. Now it's just one object called content type definition record. And when you go to the service, content definition manager, the content definition manager, when you say get content definition record, just load. So now it's a load because we know it's not, yeah, it's a document, but we know its type. This is the only document with this thing, and we just load the document and return it. Done. You didn't see that, okay? The flush.
Oh, that's not it. Seriously.
Yeah, this is because there's an issue in the persistence layer. Yeah, but same thing for saving. Look at saving. Store type definition. You just give the type definition. It will say session.save. Done. Okay, it will save the object itself. And then you just trigger it has changed. If you look at the code today in the current Orchard implementation, because it's a pure port, if I say store, well, actually I have multiple stores. Store type definition. What was it? Store type definition, save content. Trigger content definition signal, apply. I don't even understand this code. So it's creating a record here. Okay, create. Oh, you see acquire. It's acquire. Okay, apply. So it's going through all the different, you see, okay, I'm to remove. So it's looking for all the records to remove, to add, it's a full tree of records in different tables that you have to check for existency. So is it there? Is it not there? Do we have to remove it and everything? You see all this code I'm showing here, not the build, but everything here is just saved now, because the content type definition is a full tree of objects. You see, a content type definition is made of those things and a set of content type par definitions, which are themselves content par definition and settings dictionary. And there are multiple things like that. And the content par definition might be some also content part field definitions. So you see, it's a full tree of everything, of metadata. And with the document DB, you just say, save the document, done. And the full tree is saved with it. It's an aggregate root, so it's much simpler to do that. And to load, it's one query. It's give me the content type definition.
When you start the shell, you could even load all of those in one request. And
in one request, and that's and it's not even a complex request. It's based on give me
all the documents.
Or give me the document which type is content type definition, because I know there is only one. So this is simple as that, and multiple parts are simplified with that, because we don't have. That's why document DBs are simpler, because we have one.
You mean you would have one document that has all the content type definitions in it?
Yes, this is the case right now. Okay. That's why in the content definition manager, in the load, it's doing. You see here, and I'm using also a cache, because every time I say, because I can use it now, like for the site. Get so load content definition record, because we know the type, we can say load on a type, and this abstraction on document will look in document table for all documents with this type, and I know there is only one, first or default, and if there is none, then it's the first time we are loading our chart, let's create one and save it. And this flush is to get an ID, because if it's not auto-flushed, we don't have an ID, and because of the transaction scope, it's not auto-flushed, so we will be able to remove it. Thanks to Oren. And then in the end, I save the ID. So next time you ask for it, it's just a get based on the ID, which itself will do you use the first level caching to get the object. So there will be no more query. It's just so simple.
As Pierre is mentioning, it's very easy to cache all that.
Yes, because it's no more an hibernate object. It's no more a record. It's a POCO. The abstraction, which means you can save.
Yeah, you can just stick it in the cache, and there is no risk in it.
Yes.
So it's not bound to an hibernate session.
It's no more bound. It's using hibernate, but the objects we return are not dynamic proxies. They are your POCOs. That's very nice.
They don't have to be.
That's also a feature of YesSql. It's black magic, very transparent black magic. Beautiful black magic.
How about serialization? Isn't it costly here? Because it happens all the time.
Yes, it happens all the time. It's using Newton Surf JSON.net. And it's very fast. So if you go on GitHub, play with it. If you go on GitHub, where is it? SQL something. Where are my repository? Okay, let's ask Google. YesSql, GitHub. Okay, here. So if you go on GitHub, and then there is actually a sample, which is performance sample, which will let you do something like that. So to be completely transparent, this performance test is taken from RavenDB. So actually, from a guy from Redis who wanted to compare the performance between Redis and RavenDB, and they were fighting, So I took their project and run the same. So it's just, there is a set of names, usernames here. So what I'm doing is just saying I have a user class, and I create as many users documents as I have a name here, and I store them. So write all with YesSql. What is it? Query by full name and query by partial name. So write all with create all the documents, I assume. So you see it's going over all the names and doing session.save new user. So I'm creating a new user document and saving it. And I say done, dispose, okay. And then after, it's querying it. To query it, it's using something which is at the end. So this is a user document. And this is the index. And I just say, okay, I want to index by name. Okay. And so this will create a table in the database, a name record, a name field, and an ID field for the document, because it's a map index. And then I just say how to create the index. I just say whenever you have to deal with a user, take create a new user by name with the name of the user. So create a new index user by name. That's it. So this is what actually is run when a user is saved. Okay. It's when a user is saved, it's creating a new user by name with this logic. It's a map. I map a one user to a one index. And then you can query by saying query user by name, where the name is Willy, okay, or this name or this name. And then you can also by partial name, you can say is like will, okay. So this is from an Hibernate, technically, is like. And so what is done is, it's a set of runs of these loops on these queries 100 times, and you have the results of how long it takes. You can run it and do it with other databases, and you will see it's fast. This object is simple, but JSON serialization is fast.
And what happens if an index changes? Because you said it is a project.
Good questions. There are still some things to do like that. Index changes. The index change when the object changes. So what happens in YesSql is when you load something, you update it and you save it, the index will be reapplied and updated. And in if you go to the wiki, I clicked on wiki. I will click again. Okay. And so this is the full tutorial. And what also is handled is a map reduce index, so reduced index. So when you have a map index, it's one document to one index. Okay, it's like just querying documents, like a blog post by its author. Okay, very simple. With map reduce index, you can do grouping. So for instance, for multiple blog posts, we will have one index. In example, let's say this index is called blog post by day. You might have multiple blog posts for a day. And what it does is it just say, okay, whenever you have a blog post, you will group them by their day and count them and create an index for that. And what you can do is, and when you remove a blog post, update the index like this. You can optimize the deletion of an index of an object to upgrade the index. If you don't provide a delete, it will recompute the index for those documents, which means it will load all the blog posts for this specific day. But if you provide an optimization method like delete, it will just update the index because there is one blog post. There is one blog post list for this day, so I can just do a count -1 or minus the number of blog posts which have been deleted. Yeah, that's how to update indexes. And then to query is the same. I just query blog post by day. And instead of having one document, you have a lot of documents. So for the day you want, you can have now a set of blog posts.
But if the schema of the index changes, actually that's not what I meant. I mean, if you add a new field, a new property.
This is called data migration, and we have it in our chart. We need to implement it now for the document DB instead of the relational DB. This is migration.
Yeah.
And migration code is not part of YesSql. So this is something that we have to do. That could be part, but I think it's better by kind of application. And for our chart, we need one, and we have a solution already. We just need to update it for, it's there already. because our chart is based on migration, so I made it when I migrated. So now if I go there, I'd forgotten it. So if I go to migration, look at that, the same thing, create table, index. And instead of doing it's a content part record, I just say, hey, it's a map index. And because it's a map index, it will create the columns needed for a map index. See? This is the same thing, same logic, and migration work in YesSql for our chart. It's been 1 year.
If I understand correctly, there is no other migration needed for documents, right? You just hit save, and everything is saved, no migration.
Sorry?
So you don't have to write any migration for a non-index object?
An index object?
For a non-index.
For a non-index object? No, nothing to do. It's saved because the migration is already done in the core, which creates document table. So there must be a migration with the document table, create table, document.
Yeah, the schema for the documents is not fixed, so there is no such thing as a migration. The only thing that has a fixed schema is the index, because you're going to query on it.
Yeah.
So you see, in the setup, it's creating the document table.
But I'm a little confused by the usage of migrate here. I thought the indices were created by YesSql.
They can
on the fly.
Yes, and YesSql can create tables on the fly. It can do it. Like an Hibernate today in our chart could create all the record tables, but we don't do it. Yes. We don't want it in our chart because we want to be able to deterministically say when something is created.
Okay. So it's just our chart that's making the choice to use its own different API so that it can do migration.
Because in YesSql, when you set it up, let me show you where is the here new store configure, and by default you say it will create the schema. It was in the previous example. Where was I? Yes, in the tutorial, in the performance stuff, you will see at the beginning, it's explicitly saying create the schema for me. You see, config new schema export, new schema update. This is some Hibernate feature. Exposed directly here, so it will create the schema for you because it knows the indexes you have registered, so it can create the tables for you. But in our chart, we don't want it.
Okay.
And if your document itself has changed during migration, there is no schema change, but there is object change. So you might want to say in my migration, not only do you update the index, but you will go over all the documents of this type in the DB, okay, and update their data. And if it's a new property you have added, when the object is loaded, it will be empty with the default value. If you have removed it, when you will save it again, the JSON serialization will remove it. And there is no more need of query hints. There is no more query hints. I loaded the document with everything, but there might be some decisions to take about what should be in the document and what should not be in the document. For instance, the comments part. Comments part is a set of comments. Do you want the comments to be inside your content item? Or do you just want a flag to say, oh, I have also comments and I can be loaded in another document. So all the comments could be another document. Okay, and this will make two queries this time. One to get the content item and one to get all the comments. So it's then you have to think about how you model or you do the modeling for your documents instead of your classes. It's simpler, but there are still some decisions to take in terms of performance.
Okay, very cool. This meeting has been too long again. I think we need to do, 5 minutes of triage just to feel good about it.
I have a meeting at 2, I don't have time.
Oh crap! It's 1:30. You mean you need to eat?
Yes.
Ah.
Sorry.
I'll send you an invite
Later
after
today.
this,
Okay.
yeah.
Later today.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm here this afternoon. So.
Okay. Great.
Great. Thanks everyone. Interesting meeting. And we next week. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. See you.
Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye everyone.